One phone call just changed everything for the Cleveland Browns. No press conference, no team vote, no long internal meeting. Just one man, one decision, and a ripple that shook the entire NFL. When owner Jimmy Haslam reportedly bypassed his entire coaching staff and named Shedeur Sanders the starting quarterback himself, he didn't just make a personnel move, he shattered the hierarchy that's governed pro football for decades. In one stroke, Haslam took the Browns from cautious rebuild to full-blown spectacle. And whether you love it or hate it, there's no denying it, Cleveland just became the loudest story in the league. Think about that for a second. A fifth-round rookie, barely months removed from college, now handed the keys to a franchise known more for heartbreak than heroics? A kid who hasn't even played a regular season snap suddenly becomes the face of one of the most chaotic teams in football? And it wasn't the coach who made that call, it was the billionaire in the owner's box. That alone tells you this isn't business as usual. This is control. This is power. This is the kind of gamble that either rewrites a team's legacy or burns it to the ground. But here's where it gets interesting. This move wasn't just about a player, it was about identity. The Browns have been trying to find theirs for years, cycling through quarterbacks, rebuilding rosters, promising next seasons that never come. Haslam's decision feels like a rebellion against all of that. It's not about patience anymore, it's about impact. It's about making the Browns impossible to ignore. And in that sense, Shedeur Sanders isn't just a quarterback, he's a marketing revolution in cleats. From the outside, it looks insane. From the inside, it's genius. Or at least that's what Haslam is betting on. Because the moment that phone call went through, Cleveland stopped being cautious. The safe plan, scrapped. The timeline, reset. The message, crystal clear. The Browns aren't waiting for the future. They're forcing it. And the rest of the league? They're watching closely, because if this gamble pays off, it could change how power works in the NFL forever. So buckle up. This isn't just another preseason storyline. This is the kind of drama that defines franchises, sparks debates, and makes legends or villains overnight. Jimmy Haslam didn't just name a starter. He declared war on the old way of doing things. And Shedeur Sanders? He's walking straight into the fire. No one saw it coming. Not the players, not the coaches, not even the front office staff who spend every waking hour inside the building. Jimmy Haslam didn't call a meeting or send a memo. He just made a call, and that single decision tore through the Browns organization like lightning. 1 minute, head coach Kevin Stefanski was reportedly preparing another week of quarterback development drills. The next, his plan was irrelevant. Shedeur Sanders wasn't a prospect anymore. He was QB1 by direct order from the top. In the NFL, hierarchy is sacred. Coaches coach, owners own. That's how it's supposed to work. The head coach manages players, sets rotations, makes the calls on who's ready and who isn't. But Haslam flipped that entire structure on its head. By personally naming Sanders the starter, he didn't just overstep, he rewrote the chain of command. That kind of move doesn't just shake a team, it sends a message. And the message was clear. This is no longer Stefanski's project. This is Haslam's vision, and it starts right now. To understand the weight of that, you have to know how rare this is. NFL owners almost never get directly involved in on-field decisions. They may nudge, they may influence, but they don't announce starters. That's crossing a line most owners are smart enough not to touch, because once you do,
there's no going back. Every mistake, every interception, every loss is now tied directly to your name. It's no longer the coach's decision, it's your decision. And for Haslam, that's exactly the point. He's not just trying to build a winning football team, he's trying to build a brand. In a league dominated by storylines and personalities, Shedeur Sanders is a walking headline. Young, confident, magnetic, and connected to football royalty. Haslam knows that attention equals relevance, and relevance sells. By forcing Sanders into the spotlight early, he's gambling that the spark will ignite something bigger, a surge of energy, ticket sales, maybe even belief. But make no mistake, this wasn't an easy pill for the coaching staff to swallow. Reports suggest Stefanski was blindsided, frustrated, even cautious about how fast this move happened. He had a development plan, a roadmap for easing Sanders into the pro system, learning from the sidelines before facing live defenses. That plan is gone now. Overnight, the Browns shifted from nurturing potential to demanding results. And in the NFL, that's a dangerous line to walk. What Haslam did wasn't just bold, it was personal. It's the kind of decision that screams, "I'm tired of being patient." Cleveland has been rebuilding for years, cycling through quarterbacks like disposable batteries. Every new franchise savior ends up as another jersey number in a long, sad list. Haslam's call was more than a decision about who throws the ball. It was a rebellion against the ghosts of the past. But as powerful as that message was, it came with a warning baked in. When the man at the very top starts calling plays from the owner's box, you're no longer running a football team. You're running a spectacle. And in Cleveland, that spectacle is just getting started. Because this wasn't just a decision. It was a declaration of war on the old order. And if you think the shockwave stopped at the coaching staff, think again. The entire NFL just felt that tremor. Because in one call, Jimmy Haslam didn't just name a starter. He challenged the system itself. Every once in a while, the NFL gets a story that feels too fast to be real, too bold to make sense, yet too magnetic to ignore. That's what's happening right now with Shedeur Sanders. Just months ago, he was a fifth-round draft pick. Not a can't-miss talent, not a top prospect, just another mid-round name in a long list of hopefuls trying to prove they belonged. But in a blink, he went from future project to franchise face. And the speed of that rise, it's almost surreal. It's hard to overstate how much of an outlier this is. Most rookies drafted that late are buried on depth charts, spending their first season watching and learning from the sidelines. But Shedeur never seemed interested in waiting. From the moment he walked into training camp, the energy shifted. Teammates noticed it immediately. The quiet confidence, the command in his voice, the way he carried himself like he already belonged. He wasn't asking for permission to lead, he just started doing it. Reports out of camp described something that doesn't usually happen with rookies. Presence. That's the word that kept surfacing. Coaches talked about his poise in 2-minute drills, how he read defenses with an almost eerie calm. Veterans, guys who've seen countless rookies come and go, were impressed by how he handled pressure, how he never flinched even when blitzes came crashing in. "He's got it," one insider reportedly said. "You can't coach that." But the story of Shedeur Sanders isn't just about skill, it's about lineage and momentum. Being the son of NFL legend Deion Sanders comes with its own spotlight, one that burns brighter and hotter than most young players could ever handle. Some saw that as baggage, others as fuel. For Shedeur, it became motivation. He didn't want to ride his father's name, he wanted to build his own. And irony? That very legacy, the one that once made teams hesitate, is now what's turning the Browns' decision into one of the most talked about moves in the league. Haslam saw what others missed, not just a quarterback, but a story. Shedeur's rise gives Cleveland something they haven't had in years: national relevance. For once, the Browns aren't the punchline, they're the headline. And Shedeur's mix of charisma, work ethic, and that calm, camera-ready confidence makes him the perfect figure to sell both hope and hype. Yet behind the excitement, there's an undeniable sense of danger. NFL history is littered with rookies thrown into the fire too soon. For every Patrick Mahomes who thrives, there's a Johnny Manziel who implodes. It's the cruel math of the league. The spotlight gives as much as it takes, and Shedeur knows it. Every interview, every practice, every snap. He carries the weight of a fan base, desperate for something real. Still, there's something different about him. He doesn't sound overwhelmed. He doesn't look rattled. It's as if the chaos around him only sharpens his focus, and that's what's feeding the belief. The idea that maybe, just maybe, this time the Browns didn't get caught chasing hype. Maybe they stumbled into the real thing. So while analysts debate whether Haslam's move was reckless or visionary, one truth is undeniable. Shedeur Sanders has arrived. He didn't sneak his way into this spotlight, he earned it. One throw, one drill, one practice at a time. And now that the lights are on him, he's not blinking. He's owning it. Because the rise of Shedeur Sanders isn't just about football. It's about a shift in belief, a changing of the guard, and the feeling that maybe, just maybe,
Cleveland's long nightmare under center is finally turning into something new. The city can feel it, the league can feel it, and soon everyone watching will too. Because this isn't just a rise, it's a statement. Cleveland hasn't felt this alive in years. You can sense it in the streets, hear it in the bars, and see it plastered across billboards downtown. Overnight, Shedeur Sanders has become more than a quarterback. He's a phenomenon. His face is on murals, his name is on jerseys that sold out before the preseason even started, and his highlights flood every social feed from TikTok to ESPN. It's not just a football story anymore, it's a movement. And for a city that's been starved of hope, this is the spark they'd been waiting for. For years, Cleveland fans have carried the weight of disappointment like a badge of honor. They've seen the heartbreaks, the false dawns, the quarterbacks who came with promise and left with excuses. But this time, something feels different. The optimism isn't forced. It's electric. There's a genuine belief that maybe, just maybe, this time the Browns didn't get caught chasing hype. Maybe they stumbled into the real thing. But underneath all that excitement, there's a tension, a quiet, nervous edge that no one wants to say out loud. The last time Cleveland got this excited about a young quarterback, it didn't end well. They've seen hope turn to heartbreak before, and deep down, they know the risks. Still, belief is a powerful thing, and right now, belief is all Cleveland needs. The story's too good, the timing too perfect. The city has chosen to believe that this time, the ending will be different. Inside the Browns facility, that same energy is bleeding into every corner of the building. Coaches feel it, players feel it, even the front office feels it. Every practice snap is suddenly a headline. Every throw Shedeur makes is met with cheers, every mistake with scrutiny. Reporters pack the sidelines like it's a playoff week, and even minor drills are being filmed, analyzed, and dissected. It's chaotic, it's noisy, but it's also intoxicating. Because for once, Cleveland isn't invisible. They're the center of attention. The craziest part? It's not just local hype, it's national. Analysts who used to roll their eyes at the Browns are suddenly paying attention. ESPN segments, podcast debates, even late-night talk shows are spinning stories about the Cleveland rookie who broke the rules. The narrative has shifted from same old Browns to the Browns might have done something bold. And whether that's true or not, the perception alone has changed everything. Cleveland's always been a football town, but for so long the fans have had to defend their loyalty instead of celebrate it. Now, they finally have a reason to be loud again, to be proud again, to feel like they're part of something bigger than disappointment. And that emotional resurgence, it's powerful. It's raw. It's exactly what Jimmy Haslam was chasing when he made that controversial call. Still, there's a fine line between momentum and madness, and right now, the Browns are balancing right on it. Because the louder the cheers get, the higher the expectations climb. And when a city this desperate for redemption starts to believe, the fall, if it comes, will be brutal. But no one's thinking about that right now. Cleveland is living in the moment, high on hope, riding the wave of something that feels bigger than football. For now, the city is united, energized, and buzzing with possibility. Whether it lasts a season or just a few games, it doesn't matter. Cleveland finally feels alive again. And at the heart of it all stands Shedeur Sanders, the rookie who turned belief into adrenaline and turned a broken fan base into a roaring crowd, ready to believe that maybe this time the story won't end in heartbreak. But inside the team, not everyone is smiling. Because while Cleveland is celebrating, one man is quietly watching the storm form, and he's not sure the team is ready for what's coming next. Behind the roar of Cleveland's excitement, a quieter storm is brewing, and it's centered around one man, Kevin Stefanski. The Hode coach, who's built his reputation on structure, discipline, and measured progress, now finds himself in the middle of a decision he never made. For all his planning, his quarterback rotations, his development roadmap, none of it mattered the moment Jimmy Haslam made that call.
Overnight, Stefanski went from guiding the Browns' future to reacting to someone else's vision, and that's a dangerous place for any coach to be. To understand the weight of this moment, you have to know who Stefanski is. He's not a flashy guy. He doesn't do chaos. He believes in systems, slow development, calculated risk, fundamentals first. He's the kind of coach who would rather build something solid over time than chase headlines for one explosive season. That's why this move cuts so deep. Because Haslam's decision didn't just overrule him, it undermined the very philosophy he's built his career on. Reports from inside the building say Stefanski pushed for patience. He wanted Sanders to sit behind a veteran, learn the offense, study the playbook, and grow into the role the right way. That's how you protect a young quarterback from being crushed by pressure before he's ready. But Haslam wasn't interested in waiting. The owner wanted fireworks, and Stefanski's cautious plan didn't fit that narrative. So now Stefanski's left to pick up the pieces and try to build an offense that tolerates the chaos that Shedeur Sanders brings.
Narrative. So when Haslam made the announcement, Stefanski had no choice but to adjust and pretend it was part of the plan all along. That's the dilemma. Publicly, he has to project confidence. He has to stand behind his rookie and show the team that everyone's on the same page. But privately, it's impossible not to feel the strain. Because if Sanders succeeds, the credit won't go to Stefanski, it'll go to Haslam. And if Sanders fails, the blame will fall squarely on the coach's shoulders. That's the trap ownership interference creates. It gives all the power to one person, but leaves someone else holding the consequences. Insiders say there's already a quiet tension between the coaching staff and the front office. Nothing dramatic, nothing overt, but enough to make everyone walk a little more carefully. Assistant coaches are whispering, position coaches are treading lightly, and players can feel the shift. When ownership makes football calls, the chain of authority blurs. Suddenly, everyone's unsure who's really in charge. And that uncertainty can eat away at a locker room faster than any losing streak. But here's the part no one's saying out loud. Stefanski's job might already be on the line. Not because of wins or losses, at least not yet, but because Haslam's decision has changed the definition of success. It's no longer about developing a team or building long-term consistency. It's about making Shedeur Sanders work right now. The owner's gamble has become the organization's new reality. And if Stefanski can't make it look good, there's a line of analysts and fans ready to call him the scapegoat. Still, Stefanski isn't the type to start a public feud. He's quiet, composed, and professional. But don't mistake that for passivity. Behind that calm exterior is a coach who understands the stakes. He knows this isn't just another season. It's a survival test. He's coaching a quarterback he didn't choose, executing a plan he didn't design, and doing it under a spotlight he never asked for. And every decision he makes now will be viewed through the lens of ownership's boldest move. That's the real tension in Cleveland. Not the rookie hype, not the fan frenzy, but the power struggle no one's officially acknowledging. Because when an owner starts making football calls, a coach's authority starts to fade. And for a man like Kevin Stefanski, whose entire career has been built on preparation and control, that loss of power cuts deep. For now, he's saying all the right things, praising Sanders' maturity, promising that the team is united, insisting that it's what's best for the franchise. But behind closed doors, every practice, every throw, every press conference is a balancing act between loyalty and leadership. Because if this experiment works, Stefanski's name might never be mentioned in the credit. But if it fails, his will be the first name called when the finger-pointing starts. And that's the cruelest part of all. Jimmy Haslam made the gamble, but Kevin Stefanski has to live with it. Inside the Browns facility, where cameras aren't allowed and the outside noise finally fades, you can feel it. The quiet split forming beneath the surface. On one side, the excitement. On the other, unease.
It's not chaos yet, not open conflict, but it's there in the glances, the whispers, the energy that fills the locker room before practice. When ownership, not a coach, chooses the starting quarterback, everyone feels it. Because in football, trust is everything. And right now, some players are wondering who they're supposed to trust. For the veterans, the guys who've seen rebuilds come and go, this kind of move triggers alarm bells. They've been through the cycle before, the hype, the headlines, the new era declarations. They've seen rookies handed the keys before they've earned the locker room's respect. To them, success isn't built on marketing or moments, it's built on chemistry, on hard-earned credibility. And when Haslam made that unilateral call, a few of those vets couldn't help but question whether the Browns were chasing substance or spectacle. But then there's the other side. The younger players, the ones who grew up watching Shedeur Sanders highlights online, who see him as a peer, not a risk. To them, this is fresh air. Shedeur brings energy, confidence, swagger, the kind of vibe that makes practices feel lighter, faster, sharper. They love the charisma, the optimism, the feeling that maybe this time the Browns have something real to believe in. These are the players rallying around him, defending him in the locker room, lifting him up after tough snaps. They're not worried about politics. They just want to win. Reports from insiders say the energy in team meetings has completely changed. Some describe it as charged, others as unsettled. It's not toxic, at least not yet, but it's fragile. You can't flip a franchise's hierarchy overnight without creating a few cracks. Some players are asking questions they'd never dare ask before. Who's really running this team? What happens if Stefanski and Haslam don't see eye to eye again? And most importantly, what happens if Shedeur struggles? Because here's the truth that every NFL locker room understands. When you elevate one guy too fast, you risk alienating everyone else. Sanders hasn't just become the face of the Browns, he's become the symbol of a power shift. And not everyone's comfortable with that. When ownership makes a rookie the chosen one, it puts pressure not just on the player, but on every man in that room to fall in line whether they agree or not. Still, it's not all tension. Shedeur, to his credit, seems to get it. He's not walking around like a superstar or flaunting his new status. Teammates describe him as approachable, humble, even funny. He talks to everyone. The linemen, the backups, the special teams guys. He knows how fragile locker room respect can be, and he's doing his best to earn it the right way. That awareness might be what's keeping the team from fracturing completely. But the unspoken truth is that this kind of divide doesn't disappear. It lingers, waiting for pressure to expose it. One bad loss, one blown play, one miscommunication, and all the underlying tension could boil to the surface. That's what happens when football decisions are made by power, not process. The balance between players, coaches, and ownership gets tested, and if even one of those links weakens, everything starts to unravel. For now, though, the Browns are holding together, barely. Veterans may grumble, coaches may bite their tongues, but everyone knows what's at stake. The eyes of the league are watching, and if there's one thing that can unite a locker room, it's outside doubt. Every player knows the narrative, same old Browns, and no one in that room wants to live through that headline again. So they line up behind their rookie. They rally around the idea that maybe, just maybe, Shedeur really is the spark they've been missing. Not because ownership said so, but because they want to believe it's true. That belief is holding the locker room together right now, a fragile, emotional glue keeping Cleveland from tearing itself apart. But as the season inches closer and the lights get brighter, that belief will be tested, because unity built on hope can carry you for a while. But once the hits start coming, once the pressure turns real, that's when a team shows who it really is. And for the Browns, that test is coming fast. If you think Jimmy Haslam's decision to start Shedeur Sanders was purely about football, think again. This move was strategic, but not just on the field. Behind the scenes, it's part of a larger play, one that goes beyond touchdowns and playbooks. What's unfolding in Cleveland right now isn't just quarterback controversy.
It's a brand transformation. The Browns aren't just trying to win games, they're trying to win attention. And in today's NFL, attention is currency. The moment Haslam made that call, the marketing machine roared to life. Within 48 hours, the Browns' social media accounts were flooded with clips of Shedeur smiling at practice, fist-bumping teammates, and launching perfect spirals in slow motion. The team's media department knew exactly what to do. They didn't just announce a new quarterback, they built a storyline. The underdog rookie, the coach's tension, the city's rebirth, a narrative too dramatic for Hollywood to script. And the results? Instant. Cleveland's social engagement numbers spiked. Jersey pre-orders went through the roof. National outlets started running stories about the boldest move in football. ESPN segments, trending hashtags, YouTube reaction videos. Cleveland, of all teams, was suddenly dominating the sports conversation. For Haslam, that's not an accident. That's a win. Because while traditionalists still believe football success comes from X's and O's, modern owners like Haslam are playing a different game, the attention game. In a league where storylines drive ratings and personalities sell jerseys, being talked about sometimes matters more than being perfect. The Dallas Cowboys have made a fortune doing it. So have the Jets. And now the Browns, once a symbol of quiet misery, are following that playbook with a twist of their own. And Shedeur Sanders, he's tailor-made for this new era. Charismatic, articulate, confident, and with a built-in following thanks to his father's legacy, he's the kind of figure that sells hope. He represents something fresh, modern, even glamorous for a franchise that spent years stuck in the mud of mediocrity. To Haslam, that's the kind of energy money can't buy, but marketing can amplify. Already, Cleveland's front office is capitalizing on it. Billboards line the highways. The new era starts now. The team store's front display is nothing but Shedeur jerseys. The local TV promos aren't pushing ticket sales, they're selling a narrative. The kid who changed Cleveland. You can practically feel the PR team's fingerprints on every frame, and it's working. But here's the catch. The spotlight that fuels the brand also burns the brightest. Every headline that builds hype adds pressure. Every marketing push turns into expectation. When you frame a rookie as the savior, you're not just selling jerseys, you're selling the illusion of certainty in a sport built on chaos. And if that illusion cracks, the backlash hits even harder. Still, for Haslam, it's a calculated risk. The Browns have lived in anonymity for too long, overshadowed by controversy, mockery, and bad luck. Now, for the first time in years, the narrative isn't pity, it's possibility. Fans are showing up early to camp, local businesses are sponsoring watch parties again. Even rival teams are admitting what few ever thought they'd say. The Browns are interesting. And in today's NFL, being interesting is half the battle. There's a reason Haslam pulled this trigger now. The NFL isn't just a league, it's a story factory, and every Sunday is an episode. The teams that win off the field, socially, culturally, emotionally, build loyalty that lasts longer than a playoff run. Haslam knows that. And in Shedeur, he sees not just a quarterback, but a brand ambassador, someone who can transform the Browns from a punchline into a movement. But here's where it gets tricky. You can build hype, you can flood timelines, you can dominate the media cycle, but eventually all of it has to meet reality. Because while Haslam's marketing gamble has reignited Cleveland's spirit, it's also raised the stakes sky high. Every snap, every pass,
Mistake from Shedeur isn't just a football play, it's a PR moment. And the same cameras that are lifting him up right now will be waiting to tear him down if things go south. Still, in a world where perception drives power, Jimmy Haslam has already won one battle. He's made the Browns matter again. For a franchise that spent decades on the outskirts of relevance, that alone is monumental.
Cleveland isn't invisible anymore. They're loud, they're talked about, they're trending. And for now, that's exactly what Haslam wanted. The question is, how long can that momentum last? Because marketing can buy excitement, but it can't buy wins. And eventually, the lights fade, the cameras move on, and the only thing left is performance. For Shedeur Sanders, the brand is built, but the burden to live up to it is just beginning. The cameras are rolling, the lights are blinding, every move, every throw, every mistake magnified. This is what happens when hype becomes expectation and expectation turns into pressure. For Shedeur Sanders, the fairy tale rise has given way to the reality of what it means to carry an entire franchise on your shoulders before your rookie jersey even smells like game day grass. Welcome to the pressure cooker. The Browns haven't just given Shedeur a shot, they've handed him a legacy to rewrite. He's not just playing for a starting spot. He's playing to erase years of heartbreak, bad trades, wasted seasons, and quarterback experiments that went up in flames. The city wants him to be their savior, the ownership wants him to be their headline, and the locker room wants him to be their leader. That's a lot to ask from any rookie, let alone one drafted outside the spotlight. And now, with the weight of Cleveland's redemption arc sitting squarely on his back, every practice throw feels like a test. This isn't college anymore. There are no cupcake defenses, no highlight plays against overmatched opponents. Every Sunday, he'll be staring down veterans who've built their careers on humbling rookies. Defensive coordinators will circle his name, eager to test his poise and patience. Every blitz, every disguised coverage, every post-game headline will be a challenge, not just to his talent, but to his composure. But here's the thing, so far, he hasn't flinched. Insiders say Sanders walks into the facility like he's been doing this for years. Calm, focused, eyes locked on the next rep, not the next headline. That demeanor has impressed even the skeptics. He's not showing the arrogance of a prodigy. He's showing the discipline of a professional. And that's what's giving this whole experiment a pulse of credibility. For all the noise surrounding him, Shedeur seems to know that the only way out of pressure is through it. Still, the environment around him is volatile. Every day feels like a tightrope walk between glory and collapse. The fans' energy is intoxicating, but it's also unforgiving. They'll adore him for every touchdown, but the moment he throws an interception, the optimism that fills the city could flip into doubt. That's the reality of being the chosen one in a football town starving for salvation. You're never just playing the game, you're performing for a city's hope. And then there's the internal weight, the unspoken part. Shedeur's carrying more than just Cleveland's expectations. He's carrying his family's legacy. Being Deion Sanders' son comes with built-in scrutiny. Every move he makes is compared, every success measured against a name that cast one of the longest shadows in sports. Yet, instead of shrinking under it, Shedeur seems to thrive in it. He knows what people say, that he's here because of his name, that his rise was accelerated because of marketing, not merit. And you can see it in his work ethic, the chip on his shoulder, the quiet determination to prove everyone wrong.
But even for someone that grounded, the pressure is relentless. It's not just about performing, it's about surviving the scrutiny that comes when the spotlight is the hottest. Reporters dissect his every word, analysts debate his every throw. Social media tracks his body language like it's stock data. One slight misstep, one frustrated comment, one bad game, and the noise multiplies. The same story that built him up will be the first to tear him down. And that's what makes this situation so precarious. The Browns didn't just draft a player. They created a narrative ecosystem around him. He's the protagonist now, and every other storyline, coaching tension, ownership control, team chemistry, revolves around how he performs. In a way, Cleveland has made him both their hope and their shield. If he shines, the team's chaos looks genius. If he fails, the entire experiment collapses under its own ambition. The irony is, for all the pressure on Shedeur, he might be the calmest person in the building, while everyone else, fans, media, ownership, swirls in speculation. He's locked in, tunnel-visioned on what he can control. Maybe it's confidence, Maybe it's naivety. Maybe it's the unshakable belief that got him this far. Whatever it is, it's the only thing keeping this story from spinning off the rails. Because right now, the Browns are a boiling pot of hype, politics, and emotion. The margin for error is shrinking. The tension is rising. The city is watching. And at the center of it all stands a 22-year-old rookie, calm in the chaos, trying to prove that pressure doesn't break him, it builds him. But as the season inches closer, one question looms larger than all the others. How long can he hold it all together before the heat becomes too much? Every Browns fan has seen this movie before. The hype, the headlines, the new era promises that fizzle out by mid-season, the heartbreak that always seems to find a way back home. But this time, against all logic, feels different. Not because Cleveland finally found a can't-miss superstar, but because of something far more subtle. The energy has shifted. Maybe it's Shedeur's demeanor, calm, confident, never rattled, even as the media storm rages around him. Maybe it's the way his teammates talk about him, not with cautious optimism, but with genuine belief. Or maybe it's because for the first time in decades, the Browns' chaos feels like it's being harnessed instead of happening by accident. There's a sense of purpose in the madness, a strange alignment between desperation and destiny. Unlike past quarterback sagas, this one doesn't reek of panic. It feels like a statement of intent. The Browns aren't scrambling for answers. They're taking a stand. For years, the organization played it safe, trying to rebuild the right way, to plan every move, to calculate every risk. And what did that get them? More losing seasons and more broken promises. This time, Jimmy Haslam didn't want patience. He wanted change. And Shedeur Sanders, whether by design or luck, became the embodiment of that change. But beyond the headlines and bold moves, there's something deeper at play. Culture. Shedeur isn't walking into the same Cleveland that swallowed up Baker Mayfield or Johnny Manziel. This locker room is different. The veterans are older, hungrier, and more disciplined. The roster around him is actually built to compete, not just survive. The defense is fierce. The weapons are real. The support system is stronger. And perhaps most importantly, Shedeur isn't trying to imitate anyone else. He's defining his own path, his own tone, his own rhythm. Teammates say there's something magnetic about him. Not loud, not arrogant, but steady. When he steps into the huddle, people listen. He doesn't demand attention, he commands it. That's a small
distinction, but it's what separates a quarterback who's tolerated from one who's followed. And that kind of respect isn't given, it's earned. Even the skeptics in the building are beginning to soften. Some of the same coaches who were hesitant about starting him are now quietly admitting that he's handled everything better than expected. The media scrutiny, the pressure, the endless comparisons to his father, he absorbs it all and keeps his focus exactly where it should be, on the field. That's rare for a rookie, especially one thrust into this much noise. There's also the undeniable sense that Shedeur gets Cleveland in a way few players have. He doesn't talk about saving the city or rewriting history. He talks about earning it. Every practice, every rep, every down. He's not asking fans to believe in him. He's asking them to watch, to judge him by what he does, not what's been said. That humility, mixed with confidence, is what's winning people over. And maybe that's the difference. The Browns' past quarterbacks came in with either too much flash or too little fire. Shedeur somehow balances both. He brings swagger without ego, confidence without arrogance, and focus without fear. He's not trying to live up to anyone's expectations, he's trying to surpass them. It's also worth noting how quickly the locker room chemistry has formed around him. Wide receivers have started staying late after practice to work on timing routes. Offensive linemen, usually the hardest group to impress, have been vocal about his leadership. Even defensive players are talking about the energy he brings to the building. It's not forced, it's organic. And that's a word rarely associated with Cleveland football. Of course, optimism doesn't guarantee success. The NFL doesn't care about good vibes or redemption arcs. But here's the thing. Shedeur Sanders has already done something no one else has been able to do. He's made the Browns believe again. And that belief changes everything, because belief breeds effort, effort breeds cohesion, and cohesion, finally, breeds consistency. This might not be the perfect storm, but it's the right one. The timing, the culture, the energy, it all feels aligned. For the first time in a long time, the Browns story isn't just about surviving another season. It's about rewriting the narrative entirely. And if you followed this team long enough, you know how rare that is. Cleveland isn't chasing hope anymore. They're chasing momentum. And if Shedeur Sanders keeps playing like he's been playing, if he keeps carrying himself like a veteran in a rookie's body, then maybe, just maybe, this won't be another false dawn. Maybe this is the beginning of something real, something lasting, something that finally makes the Cleveland curse feel like nothing more than an old story fans used to tell before the Sanders era began. Every NFL franchise has that one defining moment, the crossroads where patience ends and audacity begins. For the Cleveland Browns, this is that moment. Jimmy Haslam's decision to override his coaching staff and hand the keys to a rookie quarterback wasn't just a bold football move. It was a generational gamble, one that will either be remembered as the moment Cleveland turned its fortune around, or the day it lit the match that burned everything down. Because make no mistake, this isn't just a test for Shedeur Sanders. It's a referendum on how the Browns operate, who they are, and what they're willing to risk to be relevant. Haslam didn't just pick a quarterback, he picked a direction. He rejected caution, hierarchy, and the safety
Developmental gears for something louder, faster, and far more dangerous: immediacy. And in today's NFL, where attention is power, that kind of gamble doesn't just shift a team's strategy, it shifts its identity. Let's call it what it is. Haslam bet the future of the franchise on a fifth-round rookie. That's not just unusual, it's unprecedented. Teams don't do this. General managers don't allow it. Coaches don't survive it. But Haslam isn't following the playbook anymore. He's writing his own. And in doing so, he sent a message that ripples far beyond Cleveland. This team isn't content to play catch-up. They want to shock the league. And yet, buried beneath the drama and headlines, there's a strange brilliance to it. Because while other franchises hide behind process and development, Haslam's Browns are making something few teams ever have: a statement of intent. He's gambling that boldness itself can become culture, that the act of taking the risk of believing in a player before the world does can reignite a city's soul. It's reckless, it's emotional, it's exactly the kind of move that Cleveland has never been brave enough to make until now. But here's the flip side, and it's brutal. If Shedeur stumbles, if the Browns collapse under the weight of their own hype, this decision will haunt the franchise for years. Every loss will be traced back to that phone call. Every turnover will be dissected as the price of Haslam's arrogance. Coaches could lose jobs, veterans could demand trades, and the Browns could find themselves right back where they've been too many times before, searching for answers they already had and threw away too soon. That's the razor's edge of this entire experiment. Success and failure aren't separated by months or seasons anymore. They're separated by moments. A single throw could change everything. A single win could validate the vision. A single bad game could ignite panic. When you build your entire brand around one decision, there's no buffer, there's no safety net. It's all or nothing. And yet, that's exactly why people can't look away. Because this isn't just a football decision. It's a drama unfolding in real time. A billionaire's ego, a coach's silence, a rookie's courage, a city's hope. All colliding in one of the most fascinating experiments the modern NFL has seen.
It's not about stats anymore. It's about story. And in the story of the Browns, this chapter is either redemption or ruin. There's no middle ground. But if you strip away the noise, the PR machine, and the speculation, there's something undeniably human about all of it. This is what the sport has always been about. Belief. Belief in talent. Belief in risk. Belief that sometimes you just have to stop waiting for the right time and just go for it. That's what Haslam did. That's what Sanders represents. And that's why even the critics who think this is reckless can't deny it's captivating. Maybe this is what Cleveland has been missing all along. Not just a quarterback who can throw deep or read defenses, but a symbol of fearless momentum. A reminder that greatness doesn't always come from playing it safe. It comes from daring to break the mold. The Browns aren't just betting on a player. They're betting on belief itself. It's the kind of gamble that could define a generation. If it works, Shedeur Sanders won't just be another name in Cleveland's long line of quarterbacks. He'll be the one who rewrote the ending. He'll be the one who turned the Browns from a cautionary tale into a comeback story. But if it fails, it'll be another scar, another story about what happens when ambition outpaces preparation.
Either way, this isn't a footnote. It's a headline. It's history in motion. And years from now, people will look back at this exact moment, the day Jimmy Haslam made the call, and say that was the day everything changed. For better or worse, Cleveland went all in. No hesitation, no backup plan. Because sometimes the only way to escape the past is to risk everything on the future. And that's exactly what the Browns just did. The Cleveland Browns have done what few teams in modern football dare to do. They've thrown caution to the wind and put everything on one move. The NFL isn't just watching because of the drama. It's watching because deep down, every owner, coach, and fan knows what's at stake here. This isn't about a rookie quarterback anymore. It's about power, identity, and the dangerous, beautiful chaos that happens when a franchise decides to stop surviving and start gambling on greatness. Across the league, executives are whispering about Jimmy Haslam's boldness. Some call it visionary, others call it reckless, but no one's ignoring it. Because in a sport built on structure, Haslam just tore down the walls and dared to do something raw, unpredictable, and entirely human. He bet it all on a feeling, on momentum, on a kid named Shedeur Sanders, who embodies everything this league used to call impossible. Confidence without arrogance, youth without naivete, pressure without panic. And that's why this story has gripped the country, because whether you love it or hate it, there's something magnetic about watching a franchise rewrite its story in real time. The Browns aren't chasing a slow rebuild, they're chasing redemption, and they're doing it in front of the entire world. Every throw Shedeur makes is a referendum on Haslam's gamble. Every win, a justification. Every mistake, a warning shot. This isn't a season anymore, it's a saga. But here's the truth that makes it unforgettable. For the first time in decades, the Browns matter again. The franchise that used to symbolize mediocrity has become the center of the league's most polarizing experiment. Cleveland isn't playing it safe. They're loud, they're unpredictable, they're alive. And that alone is enough to make every Sunday in Ohio must-watch television. Because whether Shedeur Sanders becomes the next great quarterback or just another cautionary tale, this moment has already changed everything. The fans feel it, the players feel it, the league feels it. The Browns are no longer defined by what they've lost. They're defined by what they've dared to try. So as the season begins and the cameras follow every snap, every huddle, every headline, one thing is certain: the league is watching. Watching to see if faith can outrun fear, if boldness can beat tradition, if the Browns, yes, the Browns, can finally turn chaos into legacy. Maybe this gamble ends in glory. Maybe it ends in ashes. But no matter what happens, Cleveland has done something most teams only dream of. They've made the world stop and pay attention. And in a league obsessed with stories, that might be the greatest win of all.
because this isn't just the dawn of a new era, it's the start of something bigger. A reminder that in football, as in life, the ones who change everything aren't the ones who wait. They're the ones who go all in. And right now, the Cleveland Browns are all in. The rest of the league, they're watching. And maybe, just maybe, wondering who will have the courage to do it next.